Hello everyone, welcome back to the Sharmit podcast. Today I'm joined by another exceptional guest, Kenneth Rohde Christiansen, who is joining us all the way from Denmark. Kenneth is a principal engineer, platform architect, and a Google developer expert. Over the years, his work has shaped the evolution of modern web. So, today in this episode, we are going to talk about his journey, the unexpected turning point that defined his engaging journey, with the lessons he learned living across Germany, the Netherlands, and Brazil. But before we get into all of this, I would like to thank Kenneth for joining us today in this episode. And now I request you to please initiate the discussion by telling us a bit about yourself.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for having me. So, as you said, my name is Kenneth. I am Danish, but I've lived across many different countries over the years. So, um, originally, I am not like the born programmer, as a lot of people would maybe think. I started when I was like a teenager. I guess when I was 14, I got my first PC. I grew up on the countryside, so with cows and other animals, and that was not really me. So not a lot of time, not a lot of things to do with my spare time. So I got this computer. This one in the early days. I got some dial-up modem to connect to the internet, and even when I got that, there was no like that I was aware of any web browsers. It was like bulletin boards. But shortly after, we got Mosaic. So that is the first web browser. And I was really excited about this. And even like shortly after that, or when I found out about Mosaic, shortly after they launched Netscape. And that's really when my journey started, because it allowed me to connect to other people. I was very into music at that point. So I was designing my own websites and meeting people online and learning things and playing around. Later, that turned into actually, that point I was using Windows, but it turned into using Linux, trying to install Linux the first time with a friend acquaintance I met at school. And then I started working on some of these open source projects. I actually started programming a bit. I was not the best programmer in the world, but I decided that maybe I should study programming. I actually studied physics and math and programming at the same time, but I decided to focus on the programming part of it. So over the years, it was a bit of like, I'm probably answering a few of your questions already, but it was like a tough beginning for me, because a lot of my peers, a lot of people at school were really good at programming. Like they already knew how to program. Okay. And I didn't know anything. It was quite good in Denmark because they started by teaching us different programming languages that basically no one knew. Because, a lot of people came knowing like C++ or Z. Today will probably be something like Java or JavaScript. But we had to learn like SML, Haskell, stuff like that. Yeah. So everyone started at the same level and tried to teach that. So I got good grades, but I always had this idea like, oh my God, like I my grades are okay. I can do all the homework, but I don't know how to program. Like, how can I create an app from the scratch? That felt really, really difficult for me. And the university was a lot about theory, like how to do things. A lot about, we had to even design our own CPU, or emulate it, and own kernel for like an operating system and some networking protocol. So like it was really tough. So I decided that I needed to go somewhere else. So I did my bachelor in Denmark, and I decided to move on to the Netherlands. So it was more like hands-on, which is really what I was looking for. Really trying to figure out how to actually program. Like, is this a future for me or not? So this is after my bachelor, which I ended up doing with math, and I quit the physics. So it's just like math and some language courses as well, and then computer science. So then decided to move to the Netherlands and concentrate on computer science. And that was fun. A lot about like computer vision. We had like, I think every second week we had to turn in a paper. We always work with someone else. So we did like some coral simulations. I did a few papers. I even found some of them a little while ago. So I learned a lot. I still had this feeling that, yeah, now I can do all my papers, but I'm not programming anything. I'm not working for a company. I didn't have that luxury. So this also came a bit from my background. So my parents, my dad was always like, you got to finish study. Don't start working while you're studying. You got to finish your studies first. So I never
Mhm.
got this like sidekick where I could start like programming a bit and learn. So I decided, okay, I'm gonna go on an internship. So I actually moved to Germany to do an internship once, and then I moved back to the Netherlands because that was where I was actually working and or living. And then I moved to Germany again to live to finish off my thesis. Um, and then eventually, because of coincidences, I ended up in Brazil, which is really where my career started.
Correct. It's really sounds very interesting because the way you started your journey at that time, you were not familiar with the programming language. Then you started your education, and the good thing is that, like, in the very early days, you also figure out that grades are not the thing that you should focus on. And at the same time, like, you decided that yes, now it's time to do some uh, practical things to learn about the programming, and then you started your internship. So I think this is the same thing that anyone who are about to start their programming career, they should focus also, because nowadays everyone is talking about the grades and the college and degrees, but although like they will also play a vital role, but still you should focus more on the practical things so that you know like what exactly you are going to build. So that is the great start, Kenneth. And now, as you mentioned about the internship, so we are curious to know about your career, because your career spans Nokia, Intel, Chrome, W3C tag. So if you had to trace one unexpected turning point that shaped your path into the web and mobile architecture particularly, then which moment was it, and why did it change everything for you?
Yeah, so I'll have to think a bit about that. So I
Okay.
said like initially the first step was like the Mosaic browser and Netscape. That was
Yes.
like the defining moment that kept the web in the back of my mind always. I always like owed the web to my interest, my career, my love for technology.
Mm-hmm.
The second one was actually getting to Brazil. So I was happy that that met this guy actually online, and then I met him in while visiting Brazil. I met him in real life.
Yeah.
So it's called Marcelo Oliveira. So he like kind of invited me to go to Brazil to work for like Nokia or the Nokia Technology Institute there. So that was like a defining moment because I got there. People were really kind, and we work on mobile technology. So there's like Nokia. So like that's where I have the mobile angle from. Um, and they had like a designer team, so they're really good at playing around with funny things, new interfaces. I remembering like when they launched the iPhone, everyone was excited, and I went ahead and we were playing around with something. We were doing a product called Canola, so it was like a music player for the Nokia Internet tablet, and I was like, oh, this kinetic scrolling is cool. So I actually implemented a kinetic scrolling list. And the funny thing is, at that point, Gizmodo was like a very popular like news outlet about technology, and they found my video somehow and wrote an article about it. Like Nokia is doing like kinetic scrolling lists, but it was like what we were doing. We were playing around with this like it's like early days. We were working on the Nokia Internet tablet, so like touch interfaces. This was before the iPhone, right? The
Mm-hmm.
problem is that the iPhone has had better touch implementation. We were like more like for using a stylus,
Right.
but we're already playing around with doing these amazing interfaces with animations and the like. So I got a lot of interest for that. So Brazil was a turning point for me. Good people teaching me things. Got to learn Python originally, which I always wanted to learn. But then at some point, after a while, it was so nice doing all these like email client and not even the navigation software. But most of our project got canceled.
Okay.
Probably because we were sitting in Brazil and the main office of Nokia was in Finland. And it was
Mm.
always like, yeah, whenever we're doing a project, we're doing two different teams. So like there's gonna be like the main team and a challenger team. But we were always the challenger team. It was always like already this, it felt at least this way. There was already decided that the Nokia team in Finland is gonna do the product and they're just like inspiration. So I got tired of doing like amazing products, amazing solutions that all get just like thrown away. So I said like, this is like, what am I gonna show when I in the future when I'm getting another job? I can't show them
Mm.
anything. Like
Right.
all the great stuff I've done is like it's hidden. It's in the
Right.
garbage can. So I wanted to go back to my roots. Like when I was studying, I started getting into Linux. I worked a bit on the GNOME project, and I was like, yeah, I want to do that. So an opportunity arose. One of the other managers from one of the other teams just came to me once and said, "You are the WebKit guy." And you
Okay.
might be wondering, why did he think that? Well, the funny thing is that we had a conference in Brazil called
Mm-hmm.
Bossa Conference, one of the, yeah, it was an amazing conference.
Correct.
And a guy called Alp Toker, who also worked on the GNOME project, or GNOME project, depending on how you pronounce it, he was there. And he was working on GTK WebKit. And I met this guy when he was, I don't know, 14 years old at FOSDEM, this is the big conference in Belgium. And
Okay.
we were working on some of the same projects. So I kind of knew him. And he came there and like we hanged around a bit, like, oh my God, like you're 20 now and this is fun. And I remember you. So people just assumed because he was the WebKit guy that I was the
Mm.
WebKit guy.
Right.
And so this manager, he came to me and said, "Yo, you're the WebKit guy. Do you want to go to the Amazon? Because we have a team there working on WebKit. And I need someone to have a look at it to see how it's going."
Right.
And I was just like, Amazon, he said, "I always want to go to the Amazon. WebKit. Ooh, sounds good. I'm not going to say I'm not the WebKit guy." So I went there and I met the team and it was not very far ahead. But apparently I came back. I said like, yeah, it's going. I tried to tell the story like, yeah, we're not very far, but I really wanted it to succeed. So I had been working with other people, other friends there. A guy called Thiago Santos was helping me look through the code. I was just trying to get like an idea, like how much does it take to make WebKit work with something called Enlightenment Foundation Libraries, EFL, which is what we wanted at that point. So I went back and the boss asked, and I just said like, a month. It was just a guess. And they said, okay, you're going back on Monday. So I went there to the Amazon again, spent around a month. I got my own team. I got a guy called Antonio Gomez as well, really good. Also works for, I believe he works for Igalia today, also on web browsers. And we made our own team. So eventually we ended up with a WebKit team. It was pretty cool. As we had all this experience in doing like mobile browser and mobile adaptation because we came from Nokia.
Right.
Then Nokia went ahead and bought a company called Trolltech in Norway. They had this framework called Qt, or Q. Some people call it Qt, but it's pronounced Qt. And it's a C++ framework that was like the future of Nokia. And
Mm-hmm.
they had WebKit integration. So we joined the Qt WebKit team. So my whole team, but the Qt WebKit team was all about working on desktop. They didn't have all that mobile adaptation. So my team created like the whole new interface where you can do like pins to zoom, double tap to zoom, font enlargement, so that because like web pages were not done for mobile at that point. So we
Right.
did all of those adjustments, and this is actually what brought me back to Denmark and really got me into working on the web. Because what happens is that Nokia hired a guy called Christiansen. It's a Danish guy. He was the head of Mozilla Mobile, so live in the US, working on Fennec and all of that. He moved back to Denmark to work on for Nokia because that was what he could. He wanted to go back, and he became the leader of this WebKit team. So he just basically like called me and said, "Well, I really want to hire you, and I want you to move back to Denmark to help me with this project
Right.
because I used to work on Firefox, but it takes 13 seconds to launch it, and then the phone is out of memory. So we're not going to fix this in a year, and we got to ship.
Correct.
So we took your demo browser and we're turning it into a product. Can you come?" So that
Mm.
was like an opportunity. I kind of also wanted to go back to be closer to my family. So I took the chance. I came. We made this product in 9 to 12 months. It shipped on the one and only Migo phone ever, the Nokia N9. It was quite a good product. It got great reviews even on The Verge and other outlets. And yeah, and then it was killed. So sadness. I later on ended up I was actually looking around a bit. I actually signed a contract with Apple, but decided not to move to the US because it
Okay.
was really rushed. So
Mm.
I looked around at other options because I really didn't want to move to the US. Only have because we have like 6 weeks of vacation in Denmark and close to my family. So for like with 2 weeks of vacation, my wife being Brazilian, how are we gonna make that work? It sounds really complicated.
Correct.
So I decided not to go. But then I joined Intel, and I got to work on because they were collaborating now with Samsung on something called uh, it's not yeah that was not Migo. It changed name to Tizen. Yeah,
Okay.
so they basically replaced the Migo with Tizen with collaboration with Samsung instead of Intel. But we're working on WebKit EFL, the things that I was working on before, my original port of it. So I got into that way, but shortly after that collaboration stopped, and I was actually asked together with another colleague of me, Alexis Menard, to like analyze like what are we going to do at Intel? Should we focus on WebKit or that new product that Google made called Blink?
Right.
Because Google forked WebKit into Blink. Um, and then we analyzed that, wrote a big document, and Intel decided that we're going to go with Chromium and Blink, and that's going to be our future. And because I got into that, I had all this baggage knowing how to do to web browsers. We started working on the Chromium products, which later turned into working on standards and all of that.
So, Kenneth, we can clearly see that along with these technical exposures, you have also you have good exposure on the globe also, right? Because you lived in Germany, then you worked in Netherlands, and all before returning to the Denmark, right? And also the Brazil. So, what do you
Yeah,
think? Like, what's the one lesson each country taught you that directly impact the way you are working today, the way you are building the technology today? So, is there any special thing that you learned from across these countries?
that's a very tough question. Like I don't like to talk negative about places, but of
Yes.
course, like it's just my short term experience being those places. Like I loved everywhere I lived. There were different, unique experiences, really great for me. Um, I think like Denmark is like it was like really tough on like theory,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of people were really good, and it was very difficult to me. So I like more practical. I think this might have changed a lot. I think I was also very unlucky because when I started my studies, the year before, 2 years before, the master degree was 8 years, but because of the European Union, it turned down to 5 years. So my bachelor was like really compact. It
Compact.
was like it was too much for me. I was like stressed. So I really liked that the Netherlands was very practical. Let's try things. Let's not do too much. Let's code. So that was like very positive. Um, Germany, very different culture. They're very organized. But this is the old days, so this has changed a lot. But at this point, it was very much like waterfall model. So I worked at something called the Deutsche Center for Luft- und Raumfahrt. So this is together with the European Space Agency in Bonn.
Mhm.
So here like you did like maybe 500 pages document to decide like these are all the UML class diagrams. This is how we're going to
Right.
implement it. Then we're going to go to some other people, have some meetings. We're going to discuss it forth and back. And then finally, after 3 months of planning, we try to implement and nothing works. So let's go
Mm.
back to the drawing board. And I said like, no. I worked on open source. I like this, like that. No, can't do this. So at least I learned that I don't want to do that. And I learned that I don't want to work on Java because at that point, Java was like the Eclipse thing and all kinds of Bean frameworks. I know like Kotlin and Android. Java today is very different. But at that point, it was just like, no, I don't want to do that. That is too much. Can't handle it. So that's nothing really to do with Germany. But Brazil, because I got to work on open source, because that was what the Nokia Instant tablet was based on,
Right.
like standards, open source. I love it. Yeah, I guess that's my answer.
Yes, I think this is a great exposure because when you are working with different cultures, like you got to know about their practices, the way they are working, their standards, and their discipline also sometimes, because every country has their own set of rules that they follow usually for the development. So it's good that along with those technical things, you are also experimenting with these kind of activities.
Yeah, that actually brings me to one thing I forgot to say.
Hmm.
One thing I really loved in Brazil is that they have this culture of we're gonna make it work.
Okay.
Like it's not like you're not like maybe the Danish way or the German way is like yeah you try to look at all the problems ahead
Okay.
and you focus on the problems so you can like drown in no not gonna happen impossible. And the Brazilians is like we will find a way, and
Anyhow.
they find a way. Like,
That's great.
so I like this like let's just do it, we can do it, we'll find a way like somehow. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
very
that's the
positive.
spirit. Like they have decided that this is something that they want to do, and anyhow they will do it.
Yeah,
No alternatives.
yeah,
All
no one is gonna tell me otherwise and or hold me down, right? I can do it.
correct. So, Kenneth, as a person who is representing Denmark in global tech standards and engineering, what do you think? Like, what is one thing about your own country, Denmark, that you wish the world understood better now? Because it's 2025, so maybe you would like to share few things about the Denmark country that maybe people underestimate or they are not aware of. So, what one thing you would like to share?
Well, in the area of technology, I don't know how many people know that Denmark is one of the countries that has been influencing programming languages a lot.
Right.
So a lot of people know like Bjarne Stroustrup, who did like C++. So he's quite famous.
Correct.
But we also have a lot of other people working on like SML, like related to Haskell. We had the V8 team from Google from Denmark. So they also went on to create Dart, so which is part of Flutter now. So also highly influential. But also Anders from Microsoft, who did like Turbo Pascal, I believe, Turbo C++, Delphi, .NET, so C Sharp, and lately TypeScript. So definitely a lot of Danes involved with programming languages, and I guess a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, I think list is so long. Like maybe people are aware of other programmings also, other technical contribution also, but still we can clearly see that Denmark is contributing in a way better than other countries. Or there is no negative thing about them, other countries, but yeah, like they have contributed in a better way. And nowadays we all know these popular programming language, how it is helping the IT industry. So it's a great contribution to the world. All right. So Kenneth, now we will talk bit about some project. In one of the project is Project Fugu, which aims to make a progressive web app as powerful as native application. So what do you think? Like, what's the biggest invisible challenge behind enabling a new capability on the existing web? So, what do you think? Like, what are the
Yeah,
challenges?
I'll just take a step back because like the idea, like my idea has been since I worked from Nokia is that I wanted like the web to be used for not just like websites, but actually
Hmm.
creating apps.
Apps.
And because that was what we were doing, we saw all the potential. It's an easy, approachable platform. It has a lot of great potential.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been working on that. I worked on progressive web apps, the manifest, how to install it, and then like capabilities. The
Correct.
problem with capabilities is that, well, it's like always privacy and capabilities on the web. People
Mm-hmm.
have this thing with native app, like they're trusted. That's at least what people believe. They have had some kind of review or audit tested of the code, and they're not updated without your knowledge,
Correct.
supposedly. So you kind of trust them to have like access to your files, but you
Mm.
wouldn't trust a random website you're just browsing by clicking on a link to have access to all your files or like all the Bluetooth device around you so they can identify where you live.
Right.
So always when we work on something, we need to think about like, can this be abused? Can this
Mm.
be abused for fingerprinting, just identifying who you are across different websites?
Mm. Right.
Normally, when we have a native app, like they're not collaborating with other native apps, but like the web, you like you just inject this like ads framework on one website and the other website, they can track you across. So this is like the major challenge, like always thinking about privacy, how it can be abused, which can be really and sometimes you would not even believe that's possible. Like just a little bit of data and ways that people can send things around. So we always have to think about that. So for instance, with
Mm.
web Bluetooth, a website cannot see the devices around you. The user will see a dialogue, which the site can decide to filter. So like I only care about like audio devices. Then you click that device, and only because that's consent, then that website can talk to exactly only that device. So we
Right.
always have to think about this thing. That is the invisible challenge. That's what's really hard. The other thing that's really hard is like some browsers might really want this because we really have this idea that we want web to be able to like we want users to be able to create apps using web technologies. Then there
Yes.
are other companies, certain fruit companies, for instance, that are maybe not so excited about this because of competing app stores.
Hmm.
So sometimes people try to like hold progress back or try to block some of this progress. So also this all this political thing, forth and back, can make it really challenging and frustrating to work on.
Correct. I think now it is quite clear to all those who think that programming and especially the web related things are easy, but you know that behind the scenes things like how they all things are come together and how many people put the efforts in order to provide you the better application, which is also good for the security purpose. So that huge shout out to all the developer team. So, Kenneth, like you have been also a part of the W3CS technical architecture group. So, what is something there that the average developer doesn't understand about how standard actually get approved? Because I'm sure like some of the audience know about the standards and maybe but they actually don't know about the process of approval, like how they got approved. So in your opinion, like what's something that average developer doesn't understand about the how standards actually get approved in the process?
Well, in a way, you could say that they don't really get approved in a traditional sense.
Hmm.
First of all, a standard can take anywhere from like 2 to 6 years or even longer to get to, as like approved is more or less in the hands of developers.
Right.
So the thing is that you are part of it, maybe a working group, you work on a standard, you go to meetings, you talk to other vendors. It could be like
Mm.
Apple, Mozilla, everyone else in W3C to make the best standard possible. At the same time, you need to ship this somewhere. So of course
Mm.
you have like a target, like I want to ship it in Chrome. So for me, I would also, if like I'm Intel, I'm doing this new standard, I'll have to collaborate with Google because if
Right.
they never want to ship it in Chrome, it's never going to happen. So there is an official thing for something to be called a recommendation. It needs to be shipped. I believe this can change as well. I believe it has to ship in two different browsers, different implementations. So not just like Edge and Chrome, it's basically both Chromium, um, but maybe like Mozilla and Chrome. So there's like some requirements there. But regular developers don't care. So what happens is that you work on a standard, you work on implementation, you work with a browser to get it implemented, or
Okay.
you implement it yourself in that browser, and that browser will have a shipping process. So, for instance, there's a Chromium Blink shipping process,
Hmm.
and that has like it's like checkpoints, like security review with Googlers, etc., etc. The same time in W3C, there's a process that you go to wide review where when you think it's stable, you go out to all the other groups and people can give like feedback on accessibility issues,
Right.
privacy issues. So you work through those. And then we also have the TAG. So TAG is the technical architecture group, elected people that tries to make sure that the web is works together. It's not like everyone working in different areas. That there's a big overall plan, and the APIs are more like consistent. That everyone follows the same security and privacy processes, but they don't have power. They cannot say like, no, we don't approve this. They just give
Mm.
feedback. Then, for instance, the Chromium shipping process can have a requirement that everything has to have feedback from the tag. And if the tag is not very fond of what you're doing, you need to have pretty good arguments why you're not following the tag.
Mm. Right.
So that's kind of like how it works. So in the tag, we spent a lot of time on actually reviewing APIs, making sure that because there are many new APIs coming to the web, I'll tell you, making sure that the quality is high. They've thought about security. They've done a good explainer. That the functions are not called something totally different than all the other APIs out there. There's a certain set of consistency, though the web is not 100% consistent. But we're trying to aim for that. And then we get that feedback. Maybe they get some feedback back. So there's forth and back. Maybe we call them into a meeting to hear more. So a lot of time spent on that. And I think like no one knows about all that
Yes.
work
Right.
going on. Like the no one said, oh my God, like you work on the technical architect group on the WGC, you were elected, man, you're gonna get a lot of follows on Twitter or X now. It's like no one knows about it. No one cares really. So a lot of invisible work
Yes,
just
there
to
are.
make sure that the web stays great and in good health and becomes a prime platform for app developers.
Completely agree. Like there are so many stages, so many phases where you have to work upon in order to get the final result or the desired output. It's great to see that. So, Kenneth, like we talked about your initial journey, your project contribution, and we all know that as a GD also you are contributing a lot for the industry. But here I just wanted to know a bit about your vision also. So I would
Mm-hmm.
like to ask one question, like if you had unlimited resources and all authorities and all approvals, which experiment would you love to run tomorrow that could redefine how we use the internet today? So any particular thing in your mind right now?
Oh, that's a very difficult question to answer because there's so many areas on the
Yes,
web that can be improved, right?
correct.
I want to ensure that the web stays alive. Like it's an open platform that is a neutral playing field for everyone. It's not like commercial, like it's like everyone has to be on an Apple or Google device or something else. I want us to have this platform that is open, that everyone can use always. That is one of the things that I think is very, very important for the society at large. So definitely make sure that it still stays very easy to create these good experiences. That we
Mm-hmm.
have all these new APIs. Like now we got the view transitions. I would love us like this the Open UI project. I would love us to get better built-in components. So not we don't always have to create new frameworks for like simple things. Especially now with AI and vibe coding, it's kind of annoying that one vibe code is like, no, I'm going to use like this framework, and it's like, but that's not what I want. Okay, then I can't help you. It would be nice that I'm just using the platform. The platform would be good enough. There's definitely something to think about there. The other thing is, of course, making sure that we have all the APIs that we need for people to create the app experience of the future. So
Mm.
right now, a lot of people like we have gotten for like web codec and for video editing and audio and all of that. But now everyone is about AI. What can we do to better bring AI to the browser so that people are not forced to say like, okay, I'm gonna move outside of the browser to do the experiences that we need. So that's definitely something we're working on and focusing on. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we know that as a developer, as a tech expert, Google developer expert, and as a person also, you have helped so many folks in the IT industry. But here, I just wanted to know about those key person who have helped you in your journey, right? Because apart from technical, I know like there are too many things that we can discuss here as a technical terms, but I just wanted to know you as a person also, and behind the person behind you, like who were the support system, right? So like it's quite clear that everyone needs a mentor or a guide in their life. So looking back your own journey, who were those key people who helped you in your journey?
That's a tough one because I don't think I've had anyone strong helping me along. This has mostly been myself and
Okay.
my will to prove myself. I
Mm-hmm.
always wanted to prove myself that I could, and
Okay.
I never give up. But I have had a lot of people came into my life and helped me, like all
Mm-hmm.
the great colleagues. Like I mentioned when I worked on browser, Chaco Santos was there, my coworker Antonio Gomez. I worked with another guy called Gustavo Barbieri. He was kind
Mm-hmm.
of tough, like tough love. I guess a lot of people would say like maybe that's too much today, but like for me it was great because I couldn't really complain about him because he was like 10 times or more better than me. So I just like, okay, yeah, he's probably right. I'm just gonna accept that and just learn from him. So I learned so much, right? Um,
Right.
and that's the same thing when I worked into web standards. I met people that would help me there, that I learned from, and you're always learning. But I think as you grow and become like a principal engineer, like there's very in the area of work, there are very few people that know as much as you. So it's always like you have to dig in. Like you cannot always rely on a mentor. You just have to learn to. It's like I said, the Brazilian thing. Like I got this. I'm gonna
We
find a
have to do
way,
that.
and you just do it, and you learn little by little, and you get committed to the process, not the outcome. I think if you have this mindset that is like outcome based, you're gonna fail. But it's like no, I'm just doing a little bit every day, and slowly I'm getting closer to where I want to go. That has helped me a lot. So
It's good to hear that the kind of people who worked with you, because somewhere we all know that when we are working with the like-minded people, there are more opportunities to grow. So yeah, with this, I think we have discussed so many things today, and I'm sure like it will resonate with many of the other listeners also. So thank you once again, Kenneth, for joining us today in this episode and for sharing your expertise, and also for letting know the people about the behind the scenes behind the web and the technology. So thank you once again for being a part of the show.
okay, thank you very much for inviting me. This was a pleasure.
Thank
Have a great weekend, all. Yeah.
you. Yeah.